Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new horror film, The Baby in the Basket, and this is from co-directors Andy Crane and Nathan Shepka, and this focuses on an isolated Scottish monastery where a baby in a basket is left outside, and this baby winds up causing some horrible, tumultuous events occurring amongst the nuns at this monastery and others who are related to the work here in some shape or form. And this film certainly has its sense of tension, and I think Crane and Shepka do a fine job at building atmosphere for this particular film, and you have the music that builds that tension, and sometimes it can be a little overbearing, but generally I think Christopher Belsey's score does a fine job of helping craft that atmosphere. I think the production design and, the setting, the darkness, the night, how this film leverages that, delivers some haunting elements, and that atmosphere and that tone really work. Now, I do feel like this film has, and it's fine to have a low budget, but I feel like the budget feels more of a outward and obvious constraint with this film. There's certain things that have to be done with this baby to really sell narratively where the story is going. I think with the budget that they have, it doesn't look great, and it takes you out of the film in a not great way, to the point of kind of looks funny, and it's like, this shouldn't be funny, this should be very dark. And there's some powerful imagery in theory that this film leverages with what happens to some of the characters. It's just that the low budget and some of the makeup and the blood and stuff like that looks a little cheesy. And it kind of takes you out of that situation, because this film's not trying to be like a horror comedy. This film is trying to be this serious horror mystery drama. And those certain limitations in terms of some of the makeup and the CGI kind of take you out of the film. There are other moments where I feel like the makeup does work just fine, and you do get that emotional weight of what's happened, because you have this whole entire group of nuns at this monastery. You do have the Mother Superior, who's pretty strict and has this perspective, and then you have Agnes, who I think one of the more memorable performances comes from Amber Doig-Thorne, who plays Agnes. She definitely has a good presence and charisma about her. Michaela Longden, who plays Eleanor, is a bit more of the rebellious one and leaves a bit of an impact. Some of the characters feel like they struggle to stand out on their own, but a lot of them do get some moments to shine and do represent different themes and ideas, whether it's that slow losing of faith and commitment to, the monastery and to your religion and to this nunnery. You have those who are staunchly committed and their perspective is twisted by this presence of this more malevolent force coming in. I think the film feels a bit long in the tooth. Feels like it drags a bit, especially as we get into that second act into third act of the film. And I do feel like it's a bit scattered and repetitive at times. And once we get into stuff starting to get real, and things are starting to happen to these characters, it obviously gets more exciting. I do feel like I mentioned, some of the budget constraints kind of take you out of the film, and there's some big moments that might not have the same kind of impact if they would have. I do think that the film leans into some interesting ideas. It's just, honestly, it loses a bit of its energy, and it, by the end, feels a little bit more laborious of an experience than maybe it felt that first half of this film where you're building tension and character, and it kind of loses some of its oomph and winds up kind of falling into a more cliched, just, oh look, some dark crazy stuff is happening, and narratively it's a bit too loose and unstructured to really keep your attention all the way up to that finish line. And it starts leaning into some like serious horror tropes. But there are some things to appreciate about this film, and there's others that kind of, it doesn't 100% come together in the end to deliver on the impact that it probably could have based off of some of its potential. But those are my thoughts on The Baby in the Basket. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.